And there we are. I think we're live. Let me verify things here like I always do. It always starts off shaky. I wish YouTube had an easier way of doing this. I believe, yep, there it is. Okay. All right, let me do something here real quick, folks. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Sorry that I'm disorganized. I've actually got a very good explanation for that. And I've also got a surprise for you, a couple of surprises, and maybe even more to come. So this ought to be a lot of fun. So listen, folks, my plan today, I didn't have to work today, so my plan today was to put a whole plan together of what I'm going to talk about when it comes to hybrids. I said it, I think, last week that my plan was to go talk about hybrids today, not just African cichlid hybrids, but all fish hybrids. And my plan today was to put together a nice plan for it. However, I got up this morning and my hard drive had just completely crashed. And so I spent the entire day messing around with my stupid hard drive on this computer to get it straightened out. It was an external hard drive. And the reason why I was in panic mode was because all of my YouTube videos, all of the current projects that I'm working on for YouTube and everything is on there. All of my logos, everything. So I had to get that done. So about 2 hours ago, I got everything done and everything all straight. And I realized, oh my God, I have not made a plan for tonight's live stream. And that's when the idea hit me. I said, hey, wait a minute. I have an idea. What I will do is, instead of trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about and rush through it, instead of doing that, I'm just going to reach out to a whole bunch of people and say, hey, do you want to come on to my live stream tonight and talk about hybrids? Now, I've got 2 people on here with me right now. I have invitations out to 4 others. 3 of them I've heard from. They should be coming on. Not sure. I'm not going to tell you who they are because I don't want you to be mad at them if they don't show up. But 3 of them should be coming on. The 4th one, I never heard back from. I mean, hey, when you do something like this last minute, you can't expect everybody to be on board. I'm surprised we got anybody to come on board with this. So hybrids are a fun topic. It's one of those topics that's kind of a hot button item, particularly in the African cichlid world. There are forums that will not allow you into the forums if you own hybrids. There's Facebook groups that will kick you out if you share a picture of a hybrid. It's all a bit silly if you ask me, but I mean, you know that I'm going to have my strong opinions on this, and I don't mind sharing those strong opinions. I don't know the opinion of the 2 gentlemen that I have on here right now. I will introduce them one at a time. I'm pretty confident. The gentleman in Arizona, go ahead and unmute yourself. I'll introduce you first. But okay, good. I wanted to make sure the other one's not from Arizona because I don't know where the other one's from. Anyway, I think I have a good idea of this guy's ideas about hybrids because, he's kind of in the same mindset as me as far as these fish go. So I'm talking about somebody that I've known for a long time. I'm talking about somebody that I've talked bad about in videos before. He knows what I'm talking about. I didn't talk bad about him, but I read an email from him a long time ago, and I was like, I'm not answering this question. It's not really talking bad about him, but this is a guy that I've known for 3 or 4 years. The first time I've ever talked to him kind of face-to-face. I'm talking about James Largo, the owner of the Cichlid Shack. James, I'm excited. You're one of the ones I thought you were going to be too busy to come on here tonight last minute. I'm excited that you were able to do this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, John. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's always a great deal to talk about with the hybrid debate. I'm on the same page as you. I love them. I have many exclusives that are hybrids that I've kind of bred and created myself. So I'm on that page with you, and we all know I love OBs as much as you do, so it's going to be a fun topic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be me and you against the world. I don't know. It looks like our other guest might have stepped away. Oh, no, he turned a light on. Yeah, there he is. He's coming back now. Okay, so shame on me. What kind of a host am I for an event like this? But again, everything on this is last minute. But I don't know how to pronounce this gentleman's last name, so I'm not even going to try it. But I did clarify with him if it's okay if I use his first name because he does have a name for his channel rather than, you know, he has a title for his channel rather than it being his own name. This is a guy I don't know. I don't know very well. I've chatted with him a few times on Facebook and stuff like that. I've watched a lot of his videos, and he's definitely an up-and-comer when it comes to the African cichlid community on YouTube. And he's actually been sitting face-to-face, literally face-to-face with James Largo, talking about Paul, the inventory king. Paul, thank you for being on here. Unmute yourself before you start talking and say hi to everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Paul. John, thanks for having me on. Appreciate that. What's up, Largo?
Oh, you're muted, Largo. You don't have to mute yourself anymore.
Okay, Paul, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. How you doing? Doing well.
Now, Paul, do the viewers a favor and kind of sit up a little bit, kind of like this a little bit, and you got to talk at the same time so that, yeah, there we go.
Time.
There it is. He asked me if it was okay if he wears the shirt during the live stream. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? Of course it's okay, and you might even get some brownie points if you do that. So, like I said, I do have some feelers out there to some other YouTubers. We'll see if they come on. These are people that you know, put it that way. So, but again, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want anybody to be mad at them. So, Paul, you introduced yourself, but you didn't give your opinion on hybrids. Tell us how you feel. I'm not asking you for an education on hybrids. Just how do you feel about them? Are you one of those guys that doesn't want to be anywhere near them, or do you love them? Do you think they're good for the hobby? What do you think?
I think they're good for the hobby. You know, a lot of people's favorite fish, like James said, the OB and then even the dragon blood, they're hybrids and they look great in the tank. I got nothing against hybrids.
Yeah, there's a lot more hybrids in this hobby than just those two. I mean, sure. if you think about the way a lot of these strains are developed, I mean, they mix other things in and stuff like that. So the hybrid debate is definitely one of those that it's a hot button item in the African cichlid world. And I think that one of the main reasons for it is some of the more popular fish are hybrids. I don't know how many people I've talked to that have said OBs are their favorites, whether it be an OB Ali, which I still don't know how people do those, or the peacocks and the OB zebras and stuff like that. People absolutely love them. And, you know, there was a time there where I would tell you that my favorite African cichlid was an OB peacock. So I think that's why it's such a hot button, because so many people love them. And, you know, there's got to be people on the opposite side, because that's the way the internet particularly works. So you're going to have people that, you know, are just want to be against the grain, and they're going to go against it. But to me, I'll get a little bit more detailed on my opinions on it, and then I'll let you guys take over. For me, I love a beautiful fish. That's the way I look at it. I don't particularly care if the fish came as a wild caught. I don't care if it was. I don't care where it was bred. I don't care what name bred it. If it's a beautiful fish and it's healthy and it's vibrant, then I like that fish. I mean, that's just the way I am. I don't get caught up in this whole idea that people that hybridize fish are ruining the hobby and they're destroying the strains and all of this kind of crap. I don't buy into that. I say it's crap. It's just this guy right here, this weirdo in his basement. That's just my opinion on it. But I think this whole idea that it's ruining the hobby and it's destroying the strains and the purity and all of this, I think it's just absolutely garbage. If you are someone who has a fish and you love that fish, why do you care what it is? That's the way I look at it. So I don't know if you guys have any more to add to what your feelings are on it or what, but you know, I'll give you guys an opportunity to go a little bit more in depth if you want.
You know my feelings on it, John. I'm right there with you. I enjoy pretty much the same thing. A beautiful fish is a beautiful fish. I'm on the same page as you as far as even if a fish has, you know, a bent tail or something. I'm not one of those people who can just get rid of a fish because it has a defect. For somebody to say that doesn't happen in the wild, that's just insane. I'm with you on wild caught fish as well. I think it's destroying the lake, and it's not necessary in most cases. We may be, you know, lowering the availability of those fish in the wild by having wild caught fish. And to tell you the truth, I've had a few wild caught sets, and I believe my tank race sets are as beautiful, if not more colorful, at that point as far as the natural breeds or the hybrids. My OB peacock breeder, commonly known as Skittles, is one of the most popular OBs that I know of on the internet. Everybody knows who it is. Been offered insane amounts of money for that fish, and everybody loves him, either on YouTube or on Instagram or in person. Paul's seen him in person here a couple weeks ago, and he was like, oh my goodness, the camera really doesn't do that guy justice. And I'm sure that he'll verify that for you. As far as other hybrids, I have a hybrid called the Phoenix that I can't keep in stock. Everybody just loves it. John, you'll get one eventually, I promise.
Oh, no, I already have one. Oh, no, I have the Sunset. I'm sorry, I don't have the Phoenix. That's
yep.
Right. You're right.
You have another one of my hybrids, the Blue Sunset. You were actually the first one to get that one. So I hope you're enjoying that guy.
Absolutely, yes.
Hybrids are just, it's part of the hobby nowadays. And there's just, it is what it is, and they're beautiful fish, so why not keep them?
No, I'm with you. Paul, how do you feel about it? I mean, I don't know if you even talked about it before.
Like for the hybrids, I agree that they're beautiful. And who cares? If you have a fish that you love, who's to stop you from keeping the fish that you love? I was looking around before, and I seen this. I like blazes. I know, like you, John, I know, James, you guys both like blazes. I seen this fish with a blaze on just Google Images and started digging down and found out that it was a hybrid. And I think it was a lithobates and an electric blue Ali mix. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful fish I've seen. So for me, you're in the hobby to make the fish beautiful. If it's a beautiful fish, love it. And like James was saying about Skittles, you guys have no clue. That OB peacock he has is absolutely insane. Like, it just jumps out at you when you're right next to it at the tank. The camera literally, like they say, the camera adds 10 pounds or whatever. The camera takes away 50% of the color. So yeah, I'm all for it. If people are doing it irresponsibly, then that's another debate, I guess. But I mean, if it's done right, why not?
Well, and that was going to be my next thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what a lot of people say, and I've heard this ever since I started my YouTube channel, people will say, as long as the pet store, if you're selling them on a pet store, as long as the pet store has them marked as hybrids, then that's okay. You know, it's the buyer has the choice of whether or not they want to buy it, and if they're okay with buying a hybrid, then that's fine. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Anybody that's selling a fish should make the potential buyers aware of what they are. I don't necessarily feel like it should say, you know, Phoenix hybrid. I don't know if yours does, James. I haven't been on your website in a while, but I don't necessarily believe that it should be in the title. I mean, in the description of the fish, sure. It should absolutely be in that, especially when you're selling them online and you don't have the opportunity to talk to the person face-to-face right there when you're selling it to them. But, you know, I don't think that there's a lot of people out there selling fish and trying to dupe people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are people that are doing this, but I've met some, what's the word I'm looking for? I've met some bad fish store owners. I don't know any other way of describing it. I've known some shady characters when it comes to fish store owners. And I would not think that those people would try to put I don't know, some kind of crazy price tag on a fish, selling it as if it's something that it's not. So, though I think it makes sense that you should say what the fish is, I think the only way that this is a real problem is if people are trying to trick people. And if that's the case, then shame on them. Their business is not going to last long. But I don't necessarily believe that it should be in the title of it. But, I mean, I should pass that off to you, Largo, because, I mean, do you actually I could go on your website right now while you're talking and find out, but do you actually have hybrid like in the name of your fish?
No, I do not. But all of the fish that are hybrids that basically are creations of the Cichlid Shack have the title "the" in front of it. So it's pretty easy to tell that it's not a common fish from the lake. The Phoenix, the Eclipse, the Blue Sunset, and you're probably right. I should, in the description, list that it is a hybrid, but I don't hide that fact from anybody. I fully agree with what John said, that if you're gonna sell hybrids, that they should be labeled as hybrid. You should let them know. You don't exactly have to let them know what the mix of them is if you don't want to, but I definitely think that you should let them know that it's not a pure strain fish, that it is a hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, because there are people, and I don't look down on these people. Of course I don't. They look down on me, but people that will not buy a hybrid because they want the pure strains and all this kind of stuff. And so for those people, yes, you should absolutely have that. And again, I mean, if you, I feel like I remember looking up the Sunset on your website when you were telling me about it. And I feel like it says something along the lines of, you know, a Cichlid Shack exclusive. You know, you're the only one that has this. This is yours. We lost Paul. Paul disappeared from us. Hopefully he comes back. To me, that should be enough. I mean, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking at your website and I see a Cichlid Shack exclusive, well, I know he's not the only person that's ever gotten these out of the lake, so it must be that he, you know, he cultured this strain himself. It's not that hard to figure that out. I mean, if it says the, like you said, I mean, whatever. It's like you're not trying to trick anybody. That's the biggest thing. To me, when people say that it's, you know, you have to advertise the fish as what they are, I've always taken it as if there are people out there that are trying to convince consumers that a fish is something that it's not. Like you have an OB peacock and it says, you know, I don't know. I can't even think of a name, but you're trying to sell a fish for something that it's not. And I just don't think that that's going on. I mean, if it is, then, you know, that's unfortunate, but
Yeah,
I don't
shame
know.
on them.
I mean, am I wrong?
Shame on them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's yeah. See, this is the hard part about doing these hangouts, because you step all over each other. But that's the kind of business, if you do see that happening, don't get used to that business being there. Because if they're doing that kind of crap, it's a business that's going to disappear before you know it. So I hope Paul's okay. He disappeared on us.
Yeah.
Maybe he's having internet issues or something. I don't know. But, well, you know what? While we wait for Paul, hopefully he comes back. I've got my Facebook page up in case he messages me. I think this is the first time he's ever been on a hangout. So, you know, he might be freaking out right now, going nuts. He might message me on Facebook. But take this opportunity. Feel free. Advertise you're not doing a whole lot of videos lately. So take an opportunity to advertise your website and tell everybody what you're doing over there and how warm it is right now in Arizona.
Well, we're looking at, what are we got coming up on 5:30 at night here. It's still 90 degrees outside and sunny. We don't have an issue with bad weather here. Like the people in Florida right now, we're praying for them people down there with the hurricane that's going on. Friends, some customers, some farms down there that I've been in contact with. So everybody keep them in your prayers. Bad situation going on down there weather-wise right now.
Absolutely. I actually considered like not doing this. I mean, we're a tropical fish community, and so many of our fish come from the places that are getting hardest hit right now. So I kind of was like, man, am I being insensitive by getting on here and talking to people about hybrids tonight? But I don't know. Just, if I didn't do it, then I'd have a lot of people yelling at me. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Either way, let's just keep them in our prayers and hope everything is okay down there for them. As far as me, again, you guys know me as James from the Cichlid Shack. Been really, really busy as far as fish coming in and fish going out. John got a few of them from me a month to 6 weeks ago, I believe now. Just been really, really busy. And John's eating up all the ideas I could ever think of for videos. I have to blame him for that. No, I'm just kidding, John.
Hey, do as many as you want, man. Do the same topics. Me and IFG did the same topic this week. Nobody cares. Just do it. The different opinions from different people. It's good.
I'm not as good at them as you guys are. The editing programs, I haven't really gotten them down yet, but we're working on it. We're doing an update video this Friday. I'm a little anal retentive when it comes to doing videos in my fish room. I want all the water changes done and all the glass clean, and it has to be perfect. Otherwise, I'm not putting them on a video screen for people to see. That's just me. There's no excuse for lack of videos. It's just kind of the way it is. You know, I got 5 kids and I'm running a business and doing other jobs, and time gets in the way sometimes. I'm sure you can attest for that, John. You got just as many kids around there as I do.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, I understand that struggle completely. We had one that Lisa is like debating right now whether or not she wants to take to the emergency room, and I'm like, come on, what do you think? He had a bike crash today, and you know what, James, you and I are close in age. I think you might be you're either a couple years older than me or a couple years younger. Who cares? But you can certainly relate to this when you're kids, when you're 12, 13 years old. You get your balls broke. I mean, that's what boys do to each other. We break each other's balls, we egg each other on, and we dare each other to do things that we probably shouldn't dare each other to do. And these kids in the neighborhood built a ramp, and he didn't want to go off of it on his bike, but they said he was chicken. And, you know, this kid's like Marty McFly. You don't call him chicken. And he went off of it, and it didn't go well. So Lisa's like, I don't know. I might take him to the emergency room. If he wakes up tomorrow and he has having problems, I'm going to feel like a horrible parent for not taking him last night. I'm like, hey, you know what? Get used to this. That's what boys do. But anyway, so yeah, believe me, I understand the struggle of having a whole bunch of rugrats running around. That's for sure. I'm going to message Paul here. Let me see. I don't know what's going on here.
You can probably chalk that one up to boys being boys on that one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. It's like, that's what I told her. I said, you know how many times I felt like that? I mean, I was a skateboarder. I fell every day, all day. I mean, that's what you do. So anyway, I don't know. I'm sending a quick message.
I'm kind of surprised you weren't out there with him.
I didn't even know that he was doing that. I mean, he was on the other side of the neighborhood, and I was here messing around with my stupid computer, so I didn't even know that that was going on. But so
I got to say the plants in your discus tank are just doing phenomenal back there.
They are completely taking over. It's so exciting. I mean, I'm kind of letting them go. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm kind of letting them go because it's like I just love seeing the growth. I mean, I'm so used to putting plants in my aquariums and they just die, and now I've actually got them growing. So I wanted to keep them going and just let them go. But his computer froze. He's coming back. Good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is the first successful planted tank that I've had, and it's a blast. I started talking with Corey yesterday about something for this tank, so got that going on. But I don't know how closely you've been following me. I know you're a busy guy, but I've been dabbling a little into saltwater, and that's completely taking over my life right now. So, but if we go too much farther off topic here, people are going to get mad because people are here to talk about hybrids. Believe me, I hear about it all day long. So let me see. I know my moderator is hard at work. I'm not hating, but emergency rooms are for emergencies. Yeah, you're right there, Party Poison. Party Pooper, you. Evil Knievel, yeah. People are... no, you're exactly right. There's no reason to clarify that by saying I'm not hating. I mean, it's true. That's what I told her. And, of course, I'm going to look like the biggest jerk in the world tomorrow if he ends up having, like, broken ribs or something. Let's see. See if we got any hybrid questions in here. I'm scrolling through them, and I'm not seeing any yet. Let's see. I do want to touch a little bit. You did touch on it there, James. Something that a lot of people may not realize, the majority of the farms that the fish that are in your aquariums come from the place in Florida that's getting hit the hardest. From like 90 miles south of Miami down to the Keys. I mean, southern Florida, like the tip southern of Florida. Homestead is where the most of them are. And I've had conversations with Rick Biro and with Leif de Mason, who have 2 huge farms down there. And I know in 1992, I think it was called Hurricane Andrew, came through and just wiped out Rick Biro's farm. I mean, and we're talking about a 5-acre, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of gallons worth of ponds this guy has. Wiped it out. The water was so high that all of the ponds, the fish were mixing in. You want to talk about hybrids? I mean, it certainly applies there. All of the ponds were mixing with each other, and it was just a complete disaster. This has a lot to do with why you see a lot of farms now using the burial vaults, the concrete vaults. It's to get them up off the ground so that the water doesn't, because those ponds, they're built into the ground. I mean, so if the water goes a little bit high, they're all going to get mixed in. So definitely, I mean, this is something we should have these people down there in southern Florida, or all of Florida, in our prayers. My ex-in-laws live down there, and they're people I still feel very dearly for, and I hate to see something happen to them. But this is something that affects our hobby greatly, because so many of the businesses that provide us with these fish are down there, and they're right in the hot zone. So anyway, that's me going off topic again, and you can watch the number of people watching go down every time I do that. But let's see. I'm not seeing any messages. Let's see.
It looks like Paul's back, John.
Yeah, I saw him. And welcome back, Paul. Sorry about that. I was knee deep there. Can you hear us, Paul? Paul can't hear us. Isn't technology grand? Either you can't hear us or we can't hear you. One or the other. Paul, nod your head if you can hear us. Okay, he can hear us, but we can't hear him. Okay, so I did get a question, and I mean, I'll take this one, Largo, because it's kind of a softball. But it was said to me through Facebook. Someone said people need to know what hybrids are, and you know what? We didn't even say what hybrids are. We just kind of blasted it. We just went in and started talking about it. So yeah, if you're watching this and you are unaware of what we're talking about when we talk about hybrids, hybrids are a mixture of 2 different strains of fish. The best example would be a German red peacock spawns with a sunshine benga peacock. You got one yellow, one red. They spawn, and what are they going to do? They're going to make a bunch of orange fry. That is a hybrid. It is 2 fish that are from different strains, or sometimes just completely different fish that spawn and create a fish that is a mixture of the 2. This is something that happens a lot in like the flower horn community, and there's a lot of communities out there, goldfish, where hybridization is something that is affluent. Not affluent, is that the right word? It's common in these different types of fish, but there's a lot of people that frown on them. There's a lot of people that frown because they say that it's, risking the purity of the strains and all that kind of stuff. Another good example of something like this is what I did in my video that I made 4 years ago, is to use the example of a Labradoodle dog. If you're familiar with Labradoodles, my sister has one. They're maniacs, but that is the combination of a poodle and a Labrador dog. And what you get is a dog that's a maniac, curly-haired, crazy dog, but they're known for actually being very, very good dogs. That's what we're talking about here. A mutt, if you will. 2 different things mixing together. That is what gives hybrids these names. So, yeah, thank you, Paul Martin, for sharing that with me, because I didn't realize that we hadn't even talked about that. So, I don't know. Paul, are you back with us as far as your... Nope, still not hearing you, dude.
I have a question for you, John. How do you feel?
Okay.
How do you feel about when people mix breeding colonies into the same tank, feeling that they won't breed together and hybrids won't be created? and then selling the offspring as pure? That I get asked a lot.
Yeah, that's one of those things. If you've got peacocks with imbunas, I think that it probably wouldn't be a huge problem. The likelihood of the two crossing would be pretty slim. But I know a lot of people that do that with imbunas. They have like 3 or 4 different strains of imbuna in their 125-gallon tank. And it's true that for the most part, I have experience in this, they will stay with their own kind, but it's not 100% guarantee. So I'm one of those people, if I'm going to breed a fish, I don't care what it is that I'm going to breed, I'm going to have just that fish in the tank because I don't want to run the risk of that happening. And if you don't believe that it can happen, then you're living in fantasy land because it can absolutely happen. I mean, these fish can commingle. How do you think it ever happened in the first place? Hybrids did not come about on purpose. They came about by accident. Anybody that tells you any different is just blatantly lying to you. So, yeah, you mix two together that don't belong together, and there's going to be cross-breeding. Is it a guarantee? No. But I still think if you're taking this seriously and you're going to do this, particularly if you're going to sell them, my God, you should be doing it. You should be putting one species only in the tank. So
that's the answer that I usually give, and all of my colonies are in their own individual tanks. I believe you're aware of that because you helped me decide how to set them all up, and a lot of my colonies are still from you when you had your shop available.
Really? You caught me mid-vape there. You still have the same colonies. That's nice.
Yep. Probably, I think 8 of them are still the original colonies I got from you.
That's awesome. All right, so Paul, all right, are you back with us now?
Can you guys hear me?
Okay, there he is. Yes. We haven't heard from you in a while. And so thankfully, everything's okay there. And we have a new guest. Another person has joined in on the fun, except all I see is his profile picture. New guest. If you don't know it, maybe you don't have a camera. I don't know. But on the top of the Hangout, there's going to be a little icon that has a camera on it with a line through it. Oh, no, there he is. There's his beautiful face. Man, that's a beautiful man right there. Look at that. Ben Ochart is with us, folks. This is a guy that I've gotten to know over the last, few months. And he is an admin or a mod on my Facebook group. Very, very glad to have him help out there, and he does help out quite a bit. So, Ben, welcome. I didn't know if you'd make it with us tonight.
Yeah, I just finished up here at work on the West Coast, on the left coast, so I'm behind you a few hours.
Yeah, and this whole thing, it just came about so fast. Like I said, I explained it in the beginning. You hadn't joined on yet. It was like 6 o'clock my time, and I was like, I'm going on in 2 hours. I have nothing prepared. I'm just going to see if all these people want to come on with me. So this is fun. We got 4 people here, so this is a good deal. I'm glad you guys were able to drop everything and come on to here, and it gives people something different to watch. So, Ben, since you're the new guest, why don't you take the opportunity to introduce yourself to if people haven't seen you yet. There's not a whole ton of people watching, but there's going to be a lot more people that watch it in the replay. So introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Well, I'm a cichlid keeper from Southern California, and I've been in fish since I was a small boy, and Mom brought home a tank that she picked up at an auction or something. I can't remember. Had a few Rasaboras in it, I think, and a couple Tetras or something. But I've been through discus, and now my passion is African cichlids. And it's relatively new to the hobby. I drove my wife crazy watching KGTropicals videos. And
oh, no.
picked up a lot of information very quickly. And so here I am. Of course, people know I make videos and stuff, and I guess the topic was OBs. I think it was the topic. I don't know if you waved or varied from that, but
no, we haven't, and that's what I was gonna bring you in on that, because we've been talking about not just OBs, but we're talking about hybrids in general, any kinds of fish. The 4 of us are all known as African cichlid people. Me, I'm kind of veering away from that and including other things, but So, Africans are a big part of that, but it's more just the hybrid umbrella itself. So and we've already been talking for 40 minutes now about them. So why don't you go ahead and do what you were about to do before I interrupted you, and give the audience your opinion about hybrids, how you feel about them, what they're doing in the hobby and stuff like that. And you're going to do this without knowing what our answers to that were, because you're late.
Well, I personally, I love the hybrids. And one of my first cichlids was an orange blossom or an orange blotch, depending on who you're talking to. And he is one of my favorite cichlids. I do feature him a lot when I post pictures of my fish. But I like them. And in the very beginning, I was getting a little bit of a bad rap on them. You'd go to forums and things, and you'd have what I would call purists who simply feel they're sort of they're just not good for the hobby. And but I thought mine was beautiful. I kept them, and I don't have a tremendous number of them. I did have some hybrids occur through some mating that occurred in the tank. I have an all-male tank now, so that's no longer the case. But I got a real nice OB out of that batch. And anyway, I personally like them. I don't have a strong dislike or feel that they're. I think if they're controlled, I think they're fine in the hobby.
Yeah, and we spoke about this whole idea, and this is what a lot of people talk about, and I want to get your 2 cents on it. This idea that it's ruining the hobby, that hybrids, we're not turning to pure strains anymore. We're going to these hybrids, and everybody's making up their own fish. James Largo, and that wasn't picking on you. I was just, but there are people. I'm not one of them. But there are people that say that is ruining the hobby. How do you feel? I mean, you kind of answered that already, but what is your response to people? We lost Paul again. What is your response to people, Ben, when you're confronted by one of those idiots that says, "Oh, they're ruining the hobby"? How do you respond to that?
Fish keeping is very personal, and I think that people have to kind of go with what they enjoy. As long as it's not something that is, for example, mixing things that are going to kill each other, or putting things in tanks that shouldn't be in tanks, like the red-tailed catfish in the 10-gallon. I think it's really a person just have a choice. It's their choice, and there are lots of breeders out there that are keeping strains pure. I don't think that. I think in a lot of ways some strains are being actually are going to survive some of the stuff going on in Lake Malawi because of the breeders keeping them pure. So I don't think we're really putting anything at risk. I think it's just a personal preference. Some people like to argue about things.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just people want to have something to argue about.
That's right, and maybe I was seeing something and not understanding what I was seeing. But when I look at videos of Lake Malawi, I see a lot of blotched fish in there from time to time, and I'm wondering maybe these things are occurring in nature. So that kind of neutralized any argument for me when I looked at some Lake Malawi videos and said, wait a minute, those guys look pretty blotched up. Maybe I was looking at something I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah, I mean, no, I feel the same way you do. I think that anyone who believes that there's no such thing as hybridizing in the lakes, I think you're living in a fantasy land. I mean, I think that's ridiculous to think that wouldn't happen. That would be like, 50 dogs in a field. You mean to tell me they're not, the poodles are only going to stay with the poodles? I mean, that's just dumb. I mean, we know better than that. But one of the things that I will add, and this is going to veer off a little bit and people get pissed at me for that, but what we experience in this hobby, I don't look down on anybody. I never have and I never will. I'm not one of those guys that I walk through a place and I puff my chest out and I just make myself look fatter when I do that, and try to be intimidating and act like I'm the smartest guy in the room. I've never been that person. And the reason why I've never been that person is because I hate those people. And those people are the ones that we're talking about here that are the purists. And I'm not trying to say these are bad people. I'm not that way at all. you know, you can believe what you believe, and I believe what I believe. We're all entitled to that. But this is worldwide. This is across the board, whatever hobbies you're in. I'm also very much involved in the vaping world. I'm also very much involved in the woodworking world, which I don't really talk about much, but I go to woodworking conventions and I go to these places, and you have the same dudes at these places that, you know, if you use this particular brand of power tool, you're a poser. It doesn't even belong in this community. You have that everywhere in every kind of hobby that you can ever imagine. I'm sure there's stamp collector snobs out there. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. There's going to be people that feel superior to you just because they believe that their collection of whatever it is that they have is better than yours. And I think that's a shame. It's always been something I've looked down on that more than I've ever looked down on any one particular person for liking or disliking a certain thing. So there you go. My rant's over. Paul, are you back with us for good or what? I mean, do you want to be a part of this thing or what? I don't hear him. Is he responding? I think he's trying to figure it out. Well, folks, you can't see him because he's not talking or because he has no audio, but he's here. Paul's here. So he's with us. So, Largo, have you experienced these people that are like, I mean, you have people that come to your establishment to pick out fish. Have you had people, those poo-poo hybrids people come to your place?
I've had a few of them come out, but in that case, you know, they're there to pick out fish that they want. I have pure strains as well as hybrids, and they're all clearly marked in their own tanks, and they're all separated. They're all available if they decide that they want a hybrid. It's a beautiful fish. Why wouldn't they? If they decide that's their choice. And I believe that is where this whole debate lies. The both of you have said that. It's a choice. It's your tank. If you want to have OBs, the Phoenix, or any other Dragon Blood or some other hybrid in your tank, then that's, as an American citizen, that's your right. Even if you're in a foreign country, it's your tank. If you want to put the fish that you want in your tank, that's your choice. So if the purists come over here and say they want they want to talk about it, then the door is right there if they don't like what they see. I'm kind of blunt like that, like you are, John. If you're going to come over to my establishment and give me a hard time, you can go right back out the way you came, and there's plenty more people who are going to follow behind him. So yeah, it's just not worth getting into that debate over. And I learned that directly from you, not to get too involved with people ranting and raving, because it really doesn't get you anywhere.
Well, I can tell you this too. You know, I think the world of you. I don't know how much I would take from me. I mean, look where I am and look where you are. So I'm just putting that out there. But you know, I can give all the advice in the world, but you know, we see where I'm at as far as my fish sales career. But no, that is exactly how I would have handled it. I never had that. I never had people that were like blatantly disrespectful about it or rude about it. I had people that would prefer not to have hybrids, and those people are fine. I don't have a problem with that. We all are entitled to like what we like. But I never had anybody that was like, I will not buy here because you sell hybrids. I'd have been like, that's fine. Get out of the way so the next guy can come in. I mean, I'm not going to play games with you. I mean, that's fine. And it disappoints me, Ben, because I'm just getting to know you. When you came in, I was like, maybe, just maybe we'll have somebody that disagrees with us so we can not yell and scream at each other, but we can have a debate and we're all on the same page here. It's kind of a bummer.
You should have fed me a script before the.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I wouldn't want you to be the punching bag. But all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it. Never mind. I was going to do something that I'm not going to do.
Let me ask you something. What do you think about about hybrids and antagonists?
Yes, Paul. Sorry, Ben. I wanted to answer Paul because.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead with your question, Ben.
I was just going to ask: is there anything to what you hear a lot about hybrids being more antagonistic in general?
You want to answer that first, Largo, or you want me to go first? I mean, or Paul, anybody want to chime in before me? I've been kind of dominating here. And nobody steps up. So I guess I'll answer first. I have had, it's almost 9 o'clock at night, so I can say it. I've had some asshole OBs. And there's a lot of people that brand OB peacocks as the Antichrist, the devil. They're horrible. They're mean. They're all mean, kind of the same way people say about convicts and stuff like that. But what I've told people, this is what I would say when I was in the store. And I would tell people this, this is my genuine experience on this and opinion. If you ask me the question, are OBs meaner than other fish? My answer would be, I've had a lot of OBs that are really mean. But I've also had a lot of German Reds that are really mean, and Alis that are really mean, and red zebras, and pure strains, frontosas. Yes, frontosas, big, burly, lazy frontosas that want to kill other fish. I've had them all, and I've had asshole versions of every single one of them. So, I don't label them that way. Yes, there are a lot of horror stories, but I don't look at them as any more mean. I've got like 5 of them in here, and none of them are any meaner than any of the other fish in there. So that's my take on it. Are there a lot of stories out there? Yes, but I think there's also people looking for stories about OBs and stuff like that. So that's my take on it. But somebody else, come on, somebody say something different from me.
I know what you mean, John. It's because they're a hybrid. That's why people want to pick on them. But if a fish wants to be an ass, it's going to be an ass. That's just what I think. I mean, you can have any breed, any type. If it wants its area, it's going to pick on anyone that comes in that area, whether it's an OB peacock or whether it's a Madoka whitelip. So, I mean, I don't think it's just because it's an OB, in my opinion anyway.
I have a little
Largo?
more to add to the top of what John said. No, I had a customer come back to me today and bring back a dragon blood that he had bought from me. Absolutely stunning dragon blood. He bought it back 2 inches bigger than what he bought it. So he grew it out for me, but he said it was terrorizing the rest of his tank. And when I sell my fish, I get asked that question a lot. Are certain fish meaner than others? And I'm in the same experience range as John. I've had ones that are real nasty jerks, and then another ones of the same breed that are just, the coolest fish on the planet. This one just happened to be a real nasty jerk, and I give my customers the option that if that happens, hey, come bring it back, and we'll switch it out with something else, and we'll see how that goes. If that guy don't work, bring it back. We'll switch it out with something else until we get, the coerciveness in your tank that you want going on, and nobody's picking on each other. But it doesn't come just because it's a hybrid. It comes just because they're African cichlids, man, and they can be jerks, and there's no way around it. There's tricks to it, overcrowd them, take out the decorations, rearrange, don't have any decor. There's ways around it, and we try those methods first. But if all those methods fail, I give them the option to, hey, bring the dragon blood back, bring the German red back that's being a jerk, and we'll switch it out for something else for you. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's all about, from a business aspect, it's about customer service, and John, you can attest to that. I mean, it's all about treating your customers right. And if they bought a fish from you and it's terrorizing the rest of their tank, why wouldn't you let them bring them back and pick out something else that may work out better for them?
I had that happen a lot, and there is a fish in that tank right there that was that kind of a scenario where a guy bought it from us, very small, grew it up, and when it became an adult, it decided that it was going to turn into a psychopath, and it started killing everything in his tank. He brought it to my shop, and he was shocked. This was a friend of mine. He was shocked when I put it in my 240 with all my other fish. He was like, "Are you crazy? I just told you that this fish was killing everything." I said, "Watch it. It's going to be fine." And it never hurt a soul, and it hasn't hurt a soul since. So I'm saying that because of what you were saying. You never know. These are African cichlids. If they decide that they want to be mean, they're going to cause damage. And it's somebody, a couple of people in the chat were talking about pit bulls. It's the same kind of a thing. I went to it's funny that this is brought up during this conversation. I went to a customer's house the other day to fix their furniture, and they had a pit bull, an American Staffordshire Terrier, whatever you want to call them, which I think that's the same dog. I don't know. Who cares? But this dog, when she opened the door, started coming at me, and I was like, "Oh my God, come here, puppy! Come here, doggy!" And the dog jumped up on me, and and the lady was like, "I am so sorry." I'm like, "What are you sorry for? I love dogs." "Oh, but he's a pit, and everybody goes crazy, and because they're." I'm like, I'm not one of those people. I mean, I'm not going to look at a pit bull and be like immediately turned off. And I think that that's what happens with these fish. Somebody has a bad experience with an OB or anything. Oh, well, I'm just never buying those again. Come on. I mean, that's like saying I'm never going to be friends with somebody from Texas. I mean, that's just dumb. One person that you met from Texas was a jerk, and all of a sudden everybody from that state is a jerk. I mean, that's just dumb. I don't like people from Texas because I don't like the Cowboys, but here we go. I just stirred up a mess, but I'm joking. I love people from Texas as long as they're not Cowboy fans. But anyway, Ben, I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think it is. I think the conclusion here is that an OB is a cichlid like every other cichlid, and that the switch can flip or it can not flip. It's just like every other cichlid.
Imagine what this hobby would be if African cichlids never killed each other. Imagine how it would be. I mean, it wouldn't be very fun. It's not fun having fish kill each other, but you'd have the same fish forever because they'd never die. It's like kind of being on that razor's edge of a tank that could just let loose and completely everybody start fighting each other and stuff like that. I think that's part of the appeal. And trying to curb that and make sure that it doesn't happen, that's, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was just trying to say. So
what attracted me to them, the attitude.
That's right. I mean, they're fish with attitude. Absolutely. What were you saying there, Paul?
I was saying I agree with you. Like when a fish is on fire because it's going after another fish, it just adds to the hobby because their colors get real dumb. You can see their colors a lot. So I like when they go after each other as long as they're not killing each other.
Yeah, and that's another thing. And Largo, having as many fish as you do, I think that you can probably. I don't want you to back me up on this because that's all you've been doing the whole show. I want you to disagree with me and figure out a way. But wow, I just totally lost what I was about to say. That's weird. That's a show of age right there. Oh my God, what was I just about to say? Yeah, it's gone. Whatever it was, it's gone. It's been a long day. So take it over. What was I was just about to say something and I just totally lost it. That's pretty embarrassing. That shows that I'm getting extremely old.
I do have to separate fish occasionally. Like I separated some Mar rocks today. Two of the males that anybody knows, well, a lot of people know that Mar rocks are late bloomers. Two of them are starting to bloom at the same time at about 5 inches. And they didn't like the fact that the two of them were blooming at the same time. They were lip locking and jumping out of the top of the tank. And so I separate them. And at that point, that's part of the hobby as far as I see it. Whether it's hybrid or not, aggression is part of the hobby. And it's an enjoyable part of the hobby for me. I like watching the dominance change when you add new fish. I like watching them jockey it out to see who's the tank boss. Like Paul said, that's when their colors, they just really get vibrant. If you're not a breeder, that's when you see the most vibrant colors in your display tanks is when these guys are jockeying it out for position as far as the dominance chain in the tanks. As far as losing fish from fighting or from fighting in the tanks, I don't lose them very often from fighting. My biggest problem with loss is them jumping out of the tanks. They think they can fly all of a sudden. And I get asked, how come you don't put lids on all your tanks? Well, when you got 145 tanks, it's a lot of money to put lids on everyone. So,
yep.
you got to decide. Do you want to get more fish from them poor people down in the hurricanes in Florida, so you guys have more to choose from to buy, or do I put lids on the tanks? You know, it's a toss up there. I'm going to go with some more beautiful fish to put in the tanks. So I do lose a few here and there, but it's not as many as people would think that jump out of the tanks. And a lot of times it is from aggression. I've lost a pair of sulfurhead peacock breeder males. Came out and found them both on the floor because they got into a dueling match and bounced themselves right out of the tank. And there's really nothing you can do about that except for, you know, only put one in the tank. I learned that lesson too. So, right. And then put the other one in the show tank like somebody recommended a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it happens as part of the hobby, and that's why we love them.
Yeah, and I remember now what I was going to say, and I am going to say it but there's a lot of people saying, what does John have in that vape? Has he got THC in the vape and stuff like that? No, it's just straight up old age. That's why I forgot what I was going to say. But no, what I was going to talk about was, and this kind of goes right along with what you were saying, James, is there's a difference between chasing each other around and aggression. And I think people get really scared when fish start chasing each other around and they're like, oh my God, they're way too aggressive. And I'm like, wait a minute, is there any damage to the fish? Well, no. Are the fish hiding up in the corners like they're scared to death? No. Okay, well then what's the problem? They're not hurting each other, they're just chasing each other around. You know, there is a difference between that. And that can lead to problems too, like you said, jumping out of the tank because they're running from each other. I mean, I've had that happen too. But there's definitely a difference between chasing and aggression. Another thing that happens is that you'll have a fish, somebody will come down and they'll look in their tank and they're like, oh my God, there's a half-eaten fish. Like the fish is dead and its eyeballs are eaten out and all of the scales are gone and all of the fins are gone. Oh my God, they killed that fish. No, not necessarily. I had that happen and it pisses me off so much because it was one of my absolute favorite fish. Dropped like that 2 days ago, out of nowhere, perfectly healthy. When I went to bed next morning, he's dead. My redfin boilie eye. It broke my heart. But that fish was on the bottom of the tank, laying on his side with the pleco on top of him, you know, his eyeballs eaten out and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that would see that and say, oh my God, the fish killed him. Look, they ate his fins off of him and they just mutilated this fish. No, they did that after the fish was dead because they're fish and that's what they do. So, you know, that's not always going to be a sign of aggression. But as far as hybrids go, going back to Ben's question from 30 minutes ago, you know, I don't know them to be more aggressive than other fish. I mean, so if that's what people are worried about, you know, they're either worried that it's damaging the strains and ruining the hobby, or that they're unhealthy. There's a lot of people that worry about that, or they're overly aggressive. And, you know, I can't speak for the unhealthy part because I'm not a scientist and I've never done an autopsy on these fish. But as far as the aggression goes and the damage to the hobby, I don't buy it. So,
as a breeder, though, John, and breeding in the past, I'm sure you can attest that when you breed fish, there are ones that come out with deformities. Now, whether they're hybrid or not, breeding fish, it comes out in every variety. So for those who say that the hybrids are all going to come out deformed and this and that, and I have no more OB peacocks or dragon bloods or any of the other hybrids that I breed that come out with more deformed fish than, say, you know, a straight strain German red. In a batch, you're going to get, you know, one or two that, you know, either the mother could have bit down on the egg or something could have happened, or, you know, it could just be straight up a deformed fish, and then it just happens. And it happens in the wild. It happens in captive breeding. It happens whether they're hybrid or straight strain. So that's another argument that I hear a lot, that you're going to get a lot of deformed fish and fish that just aren't right and they just don't look right. And I don't see that as an issue. I've bred thousands and thousands of OBs at this point, and I've never say that I had one that came out deformed or retarded or, you know, didn't look like a beautiful fish that it is.
We say special now. It's 2016, James. We say special now. No, I mean I'm totally with you. There was one particular strain of fish that I was breeding way back when we were in our garage that every single spawn, there was one female that would have 4 or 5 horseshoes. That's what we called them. They were fish that were literally like bent in half, and they would just sit there and swim around in circles and stuff. And it was venustus. I mean, pure strain venustus that this would happen with. So, yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily think that it leads to any health problems or anything like that. This is probably okay. I have a question that I'm going to have to write down because I'm old and I'll forget it. But there was a question that came in, and we'll get everybody's opinion on this because that's all this is 4 guys' opinions. Just because this is my channel, that doesn't make me an expert. Just because this is what Largo does for a living doesn't mean that he's an expert, even though he really is. But this is just 4 weirdos sitting here talking about fish. So just take it for what it is. It's our opinion. But Edgar Rivera asked, has there been hybrids of the different lakes? And I'm thinking what he means by that is a Victorian spawn with a Malawian, Tanganyikan. And I'm going to answer that question with a big fat I don't know. I've not heard of that kind of thing happening. Is it possible? Sure. I would imagine that it's possible. Most of them, except for maybe Shelley's, are mouth brooders. So sure, I would imagine it could happen, but I haven't seen it. But let's see, who hasn't talked in a while? We'll start with Paul. Have you heard of anything like that, Paul? Is that something that you have any info on that?
No, I'm in agreement with you, John. I have not heard anything like that, but I mean, I could see how you could say it's possible. I mean, isn't it the Synodontis that lays its eggs where the cichlids are spawning, and then the cichlids pick them up? So I mean, I guess anything's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Tanganyikan with Tanganyikan though, but yeah, that's a good example of it absolutely could be. Anything's possible. I mean, you got catfish being raised in a peacock's, or not peacock's, but like a frontosa's mouth or a, whatever's mouth. That sure, absolutely, anything's possible if that's happening. Ben, what about you? Is that something you've ever heard of?
Never heard of that. Never read it anywhere. Never saw it anywhere.
Yeah, I guess that
horse and a donkey made a mule or something like that, but
yeah. A horse and a donkey made a John is what it is. All right, Largo, it's your turn.
I think that's a way of stopping that kind of thing.
Again, that's not one that I've ever messed with or heard of or read about either, as far as cross lake breeding cichlids. Closest example I could think of that it would be like a parrot cichlid, but aren't they both mixed with South American cichlids to get parrots? So that really wouldn't be a cross lake bred.
Yeah, I mean that's a great example of a hybrid though, and it's something that I'm a big fan of. I had them in this tank up until a month ago, so shame on me for not bringing them up. But yeah, blood parrots, that is the gold Severman, the red devil. Absolutely, that is a great example. And I think that's a fish that has brought a lot of hate to this hobby. And I think it's that hate that makes people go so crazy. That's one of those fish that you either think is the ugliest fish you've ever seen, or it's the coolest thing ever, which is the way I look at it. Because they're just so weird looking, and they have this little pucker mouth, and it's just the coolest thing ever. But there's some people that absolutely hate the idea of mixing those two together and creating this kind of an alien. And that's also a great example. And the way I've always understood it, after years of having parrots and seeing them, is that they're all born sterile. So that's a good example of the health impact of hybridization, the fact that they're sterile. So that there's no argument there. I mean, it is what it is. You're not going to have parrots breeding parrots. If you breed OB peacocks, you can take some of those OB fry and breed them, and they're not all going to be OBs, but you'll get a lot of OBs out of those spawns. It's not that way with parrots. They're not going to spawn because they're shooting blanks. But that shame on me. It's an hour and 10 minutes into it. And we haven't brought those up yet. So I'm glad you brought them up, Largo, because they're a hot button item for sure.
Yeah, they
Now,
are, and I'm on the same page with you. I think they're beautiful fish. People say they're aggressive, but I've seen them go after other fish, but I've never seen them hurt anybody. They're pretty mellow. But I have read the same things that you have, that they're sterile. I have seen them try to breed, but never very successful. So that pretty much confirms that fact. Now, as far as the new ones that I've seen out, those crazy dyed colored parrot ones, I can honestly say I have an issue with that. I think that's kind of I don't want to say unnatural, but I'm not sure.
It's definitely unnatural.
It is, but it also seems like it harms them. Like it's not very nice to do to them. I don't know a better way to explain it, but I do kind of have an issue with where they're going in that direction with those.
Well, I absolutely do too, and the main reason why I have a problem with it is because it's hormones. Like that's how they get them to be those bright greens and bright reds or bright pinks. That goes away, and they turn into a brown parrotfish. I mean, so it's like I have a problem with that. Not only because they don't stay that way, but because it's like, come on. I mean, that's spray painting your poodle pink. I mean, that's just not right. You don't do that kind of thing. That is taking it to another level that, to me, I do have a problem with that. I don't think you're a bad person if you have them. If your kid has glowfish, that's what got your kid interested in the hobby. I think glowfish are stupid and weird, but that's okay. Your fish is in the hobby. That's cool. So, that's a totally different topic, though. I want to veer off topic, but not exactly off topic, because there's another hot button topic that all of us can chime in on, because you don't need to be, any kind of scholar to be able to give an opinion on this. And that is the opinion of culling fish, because that word comes up a lot when you have the hybrid conversation. If my two fish spawn and I didn't want them to, I'll just cull all the fry. Let's start with Ben this time. What is your opinion on culling fish, eliminating a brood of fish? I'm not going to criticize you if you're different than me. I'm not going to give you my opinion yet, because everybody just agrees with me, and I don't like that. So what's your opinion on culling fish?
I've culled fish that were obviously suffering and near death, and I couldn't bring back with medication. But I wouldn't cull fish that could actually become healthy fish and give someone else some pleasure. I just had some of the hybrids I mentioned earlier, but I think came from an electric blue and possibly a Borlei. But at any rate, it's what they looked like. But at any rate, those fish didn't fit the direction I was going with my tank, so I just gave them to the local fish store. You'll get like $5 a piece for them. I don't have the heart to take some healthy fish that's coming to the glass to say hi to me and flush them.
I agree.
Not my style, but that's just me.
Mr. Inventory King, how do you feel?
I'm on this. I agree with Ben. I mean, if you have a fish that is not going to make it, why let it suffer anymore? But it kind of, as far as like batches of fry that could be hybrid that you don't want, I think it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. You got to be educated, and if you know that you have fish that you don't want babies, don't have females with males, if you do that, you're gonna get fry eventually. So I guess do your homework at the beginning so you don't even have to be faced with that situation.
Absolutely. Mr. Largo?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways we could go on this one, as far as from the breeder standpoint, such as myself. John, you can probably attest to a lot of these as well. I have breeding colonies and lots of females in with males because I want a maximum amount of offspring from them, because I'm a business. I raise them and I sell them to aquarists like yourself. But after a while, you get to the point to where you're at a limit to where you can't accept anymore. Well, these fish don't have an on-off button. They're going to keep breeding whether you like it or not. you have options as far as that. You can remove the breeder male and put them into, say, a show tank and just leave the females in there amongst themselves. Or you can let nature take its course, which is the fish are going to breed. You leave the holding female in there, and she spits in the tank, and, you know, the babies become food for the other fish. That's the route that I take with that particular stance on it. Now, as far as fish that I've bred and raised, obviously the males are the more popular ones in the hobby. And say you breed a batch of German Reds and you get 30 out of them. Average, you're going to get 15 males and you're going to have 15 females left. So the 15 males are obviously going to disappear really fast, and everybody's going to want those. But the females are left to the wayside, and only breeders like me or whoever else, like I know Inventory King has a few breeding colonies. Only breeders are going to want the females. So what I do with them, I don't cull them per se. I take them to local fish stores, and, you know, they give me pennies on the dollar, and they use them for feeder fish. To feed turtles or, you know, bigger South Americans or something of that nature. I don't believe in killing a perfectly healthy fish, whether it's female or male. That's the route I have taken. Some would have a problem with that, but it seems a better route, for more of a natural route for them to be a feeder for another fish rather than, you know, tossing them in a garbage can for the garbage man to pick up. I mean, I can't do something like that. So I have some local pet stores around, and I take the ones that I don't need or can't sell or nobody wants anymore. I give them to them, and they use them as feeder fish.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you as far as I agree with you on all of it, but I used to do the same thing. You know, you get overrun by fish, even if they're like in high demand fish. Sometimes you just have too many that you're just overrun with them, so you let nature take its course. The way I always justified that, though, was, you know what, the female's going to spit the babies in the tank, and they might all get eaten up, but there might be a few that make it through. And I always kind of made myself feel better about it by saying, at least I'm giving them a chance. You know, at least there's a chance, and only the strong will survive. I have a breeder tank right there. Not that one, but it's over there. You can't see it. It's got 4 fish that are all 4 different strains. The male is a hybrid. And you know what? I don't care. I've also got a tank full of fry, and it's fun. I've got a holding female in there right now, but I'm already overrun with fry. So we're gonna let nature take its course when it comes to that. But I can honestly say, and I don't disagree with Ben and Paul, not even in the slightest bit, as far as you've got that that fish that's just not repairable. It's suffering and it's not going to recover. Letting it go, I don't have a problem with that. I think that we should be able to do that with people. But I've never in my life intentionally killed a fish, an aquarium fish. I mean, I've caught a fish in the lake and put it in the bucket, and I can't even do that right now. It's just, I'm weird like that. I've never done it, and it's not because I don't think it's right. It's more because I won't give up. I'll keep fighting, and I'll keep trying to get them fixed. I've got a discus right now that's like at a 45-degree angle. Both eyes are gone. I just don't have the heart to do it. I wish I could, because my life would probably be a whole lot easier, but I should be able to do that, but I just can't. But the whole thing that got me to bring it up, as far as the culling thing, is that I've had conversations with people where they're like, they speak to it like it's just another thing. They're just, these fish spawned, and that's an undesirable fish, and so I just went ahead and culled the entire brood. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how. I don't think you're a murderer. I don't think you're a bad person, but I don't know how you could do that. I can't do it. Not me. I mean, I'm too much of a softie. I don't look down on people who do, but this guy right here can't do it. So I don't know. But let's see if we have any other questions here. I don't think we do. We don't. So anything from the panel here? I usually try to cut this off at 9:30 or so, unless we're having a good old time. Anything that you guys want to bring up, or topics, or you want to talk about Luke Cage? You know, what do y'all want to talk about? Anything in particular?
I need a new computer.
Yeah, I guess you do. I had my share of computer problems today too. Not computer, but hard drive problems. So, Ben, you've probably been Ben and Paul are the two that have talked the least. So I'm going to need one of the two of you to come up with something for us to talk about for these last 12 minutes here.
Well, I just want to say, one of you made a comment about doing your research ahead of time. And, you know, when you're young and stupid in the hobby, you kind of just pick up what's pretty. And I'm not making excuses for people. But, boy, I've made a lot of mistakes. And then you research in hindsight. And but anyway, that's a real good point, you know. But and you can stress it and stress it. But some of us have to go through some of the suffering and the and then we'll go do our research. It's a little bit backwards, but
yeah, it definitely is. I've made my share of mistakes.
It's a good piece of advice, though, is to decide. And you know, things that I felt very strongly about in the beginning, like a mixed tank, is okay. I've actually, over time, have started to kind of move away from, and eventually I'll end up with a peacock and a half tank, two separate tanks. So anyway, for me, it's been an evolving situation. You have to have willingness to learn, I guess.
No, it's a good point. I mean, and you know, nowhere is that more clear than with me right now. I mean, Ben, I don't know how long you've been keeping fish. I'm going to guess you and I are close in age. When I started keeping fish in like 1993, there wasn't any of this. You know, if you tell somebody do your research, what was that? That was going down to the pet shop and talking to the old guy behind the counter that just sits on the stool all day. You know, that was the research. Now there's no excuse not to do research. Now research is fun because you can watch videos from all four of us, and you can watch videos from people from all over the world, and you can read articles, and there's no excuse not to do research now. You should absolutely know what you're buying. But even with that, having been victim of this myself recently, because saltwater is so new to me, you're in that store and you just see that thing. You see that thing that you have to have, and you just impulse. I'm just going to buy that right now. I mean, I was able to stop myself. But this weekend, you know, totally veering off topic here, but Lisa and I went to a saltwater shop over the weekend, and I saw the Watchman goby with the pistol shrimp. Now, all you guys are freshwater guys. I don't know if any of you have dabbled in saltwater, but this is quite possibly the coolest thing I've ever seen in a home aquarium. I've never seen anything like it, and I was just totally mesmerized by this. And the store owner comes up to me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I must buy that." And he's like, "Wait a minute." You know, I was ready to pull the trigger. I was ready to do it right there.
From SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a whole other world. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And I will have that in my new Evo tank here. But it was unbelievable. It was so hard not to do it, not to just say, okay, you know, neither one of them are particularly expensive fish. I'll go ahead and get them right now. Who cares? My tank's not cycled. So what? I'm glad I didn't, though. It's easy to make that mistake, though. So, Paul, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm going to go on what you were saying. Once you see that fish that you got to have, it kind of almost doesn't matter how much it costs. I mean, I know for me, I've been on a little bit of a spending spree of late. And, I mean, you said saltwater. I know it would be like that with saltwater. But with the African cichlids, I mean, you go bankrupt pretty quick if you don't have control of yourself.
Yeah, buy a saltwater tank and then come talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm trying to think here because I'm drawing blanks myself, but at the beginning of when we're talking about how to end this, we're talking about just fish, like bet on, when you're keeping African cichlids or any other fish and you're new, you're going to learn the hard way. Most likely. I mean, I know I did. I didn't even know what ick was. And I'm like, oh, what's that on my Oscar's fins? Didn't think twice. And then 90-some% of the tank crashed. And, it's all about keeping note. And now I watch my fish all day long. So I think it's important to never give up. It's easy to give up if your fish keep dying when you're not sure what to do. So.
Well, and you make a mistake in an aquarium, you're not the first one that's ever made it. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. This is how we all learn. Particularly men, we're all hard-headed. We're all idiots, and we have to learn the hard way. That's the only way that we can learn. So, all right. So, what's next, Paul? You got to come up with the topic now. Ben just came up with a good one. We spent some time on it. Your turn, Paul.
Is it going to be hybrids or just whatever?
It can be whatever. You want to talk about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, whatever,
Oh, come on. Give me the Seahawks, man. Up in the north.
Yeah, he's from Portland.
All right. How do you kick someone out of a hangout? Let me see here. No, I'm just jealous. That's all it is. I'm jealous.
I'm going to ask Ben, I don't know if you've bred, but obviously John and Largo, you guys both have. I have a couple breeding groups right now. I have a Mendocca white lip group, a Rostratus group, and a Venustus group. What's been your guys' favorite group to watch? I know right now I'm just infatuated with the transformation of my Rostratus male. I'm just curious, what was your guys' favorite groups to watch?
Ooh, I am not answering that one first because I have to think about it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Right now, I can honestly say it's my Mendocca white lip colony growing out. They're definitely my favorite one. I have a chair sitting in front of it in my living room. I sit in front of it constantly and watch them. I do have 4 Synodontis catfish in there that are running around in circles across the top of the water like 100 miles an hour, so that makes it even more interesting to watch those. Prior to that, my favorite fish to breed. That's a tough one. I know you're having a tough time with your Rostratus not breeding. You got to be patient with that one. They're going to take their time on that one. I know you want them to start breeding right away, but you're just going to have to be patient with those.
Yeah, it's strange. I know I've already had, I can't even tell you how many females with their vent. Oh, but it's like the male. I had a video out and someone commented about maybe I should throw some Cialis in there or something because he's not even showing any interest in the females.
I would try redecorating the tank, moving it around, do some extra water changes in there to spark breeding. Maybe change the temperature, fluctuate it a degree or two before I would go to those extreme measures as adding different chemicals. That's just my opinion on that. I don't like to use chemicals if I don't have to. I try the natural methods as far as water changes and reorganizing the tank. If that doesn't work, I'm pretty sure you have more than one male. You might try switching out the males, seeing if the other male can spark the breeding for you.
Yeah, that's the plan. I got 3 backup males, so we'll see what happens there. Have you done any breeding, Ben?
No, not really something I've gotten into.
It's probably best that you don't start because it can just ask Largo, ask me. It can lead to problems. You can go broke.
I thought about it.
Have you heard of MTS, Ben?
No, I shouldn't have said what I said though, because breeding is fun. I mean, but when you take it to the levels that I did and what Largo did, it becomes a whole different thing. And I'm not saying it's not fun when you're doing it that way, but it can become something that can take over your life. It definitely did mine. And you know what? Lisa and I still look back on those days when we had 127 tanks in our garage, and it was some of the most fun we've ever had fish keeping. So it definitely is fun, but it can become a problem, especially for somebody like me. And you can't cull fish like we were talking about just a minute ago. So, yeah, it can take over your life real fast, for sure. But I mean, I would add to what Paul was asking about before. Him and I actually had a conversation about this, and I said the same thing: patience, patience, patience. But I like to use the human analogy with everything I do when it comes to fish, and I can tell you, you don't think your male's interested, but I promise you he is. They're just like human beings. When is there? If there's a male that's ever not interested, there's a problem. I mean, and it's the same thing with the fish. If the male isn't always ready, then he might just be not the kind of fish that's going to breed. I don't want to say anything too politically incorrect because then I'll get in trouble. But the switching out the male with another one that's eager is what I would do too. Because if they're not ready to go, there's something wrong. That's the way I would look at it. Not that you're doing something wrong. There could be something with the fish that just, whatever the particular testosterone in him or whatever just isn't there, and he's just not ready, and maybe he's not old enough. Who knows? But yeah, the males should be always aggressively going to try to get the females to do their thing, just like human beings do. I mean, we know we're all guilty of that. So that's pretty much that. Somebody start talking because I'm going to get myself in trouble now.
I was going to say my wife will agree with you.
It's just a fact. It's nature. Men are always ready, and women are always dragging their feet. It's just the way it is.
I use that analogy when people ask me if they should add females to the tank to help the males color up. I tell them, say me and us 3 guys and 15 other guys are in a room by themselves. We'd probably pretty much be okay for a while. You toss a couple of females in there, even one female.
Oh, yeah.
What's going to happen in there? There's going to be a bunch of fighting. People are going to be mad, and there's going to be all sorts of problems. These Africans are no different. So like what John said, that if that guy ain't raring to go, I'd try switching him out with another male. I know that he's a looker, and you're real happy with the way he looks right now. But that's not the end goal with the species-only breeding tank. You're trying to get breeding going on. So the best option for you would be to try and switch out that male.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I moved some things around in there last night, put some more rocks and ledges, and I've never seen a fish not go up to a female and flare out. I mean, he's I don't know. It's like he's bored or something.
I mean, he might be. I can't do it. He just might not be.
Just say it.
I'm not gonna. You can't make me. But he might just, be not into it.
He might be batting for the same side. How's that?
Or he might just. Anyway, so has anybody started watching Luke Cage yet? Because that's a really good show.
We're watching Shameless, John.
I am digging myself in a hole here. I had to do something to get out of that.
We're watching Shameless, John. You know that.
Okay, Shameless is good for sure. Since we're already past the time that I would typically cut things off, it's no holds barred now. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about, and I am knee deep in some Luke Cage right now. And let me tell you something. That show is, yes, for a superhero nerd like me, that's a fantastic show. I'm going to watch an episode after we're done here tonight. So,
Arrow started again.
What'd you say, Ben? Wasn't that Ben? Ben said.
Someone asked if it's on Netflix. It is on Netflix.
Yep, that's a Netflix show.
I haven't seen
it's one of the Marvel. Okay, it's one of the Marvel shows. They've done Daredevil, they've done Jessica Jones, and then they have done Luke Cage now, and then they're going to be doing Iron Fist after that, and then they'll have all of the Defenders together. If you're not a superhero nerd like me, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but all very, very good shows. Whether you're into superheroes or not, particularly Daredevil, Daredevil's a phenomenal show that, it's as much about life and struggle as it is about this Matt Murdock character who's blind and he's a superhero. I mean, it's a fantastic show. Jessica Jones is one. If the ladies want to see a total badass woman, that's the show to watch. And Luke Cage, I mean, my God, the guy's just he's just awesome. I don't want to spoil anything. So
Arrow and the Flash have started again too, right?
Yeah, I watched the Flash premiere last night, and are we all up to speed on that? I don't want to do any spoilers, but I was surprised how quickly the storyline moved along with that. But I loved it. I mean, the Flash and Walking Dead. Those are my two shows right now on TV.
It's coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'll lose
so
sleep the night before that.
if we're on The Walking Dead, who do you think it is that gets axed?
I think I talked about this last week, and I think I justified my decision last week. I think it's Abraham, because Abraham is the character within the group that could pose the biggest threat to Negan, because he's big and burly and, looks like he's bulletproof, strongest, and obviously experienced in combat and fighting and stuff like that. So if Negan was smart, that's who it would be. But having been somebody that has read most of the comics, I know that doesn't happen in the comics. So, but I also know Abraham's already dead at this point in the comics. So I still think it's Abraham. There's a lot of people out there that think it's Glenn. I don't think it's Glenn. I think the show starts to die if Glenn goes, but that's just me.
Well, Glenn was supposed to go when he, with that suicide thing on top, he was supposed to die then as far as the comic books go, right? So he's already outlived his comic book part in it. Well,
no, Glenn, I mean, if you want spoilers from the comics, spoilers coming in 1, 2, 3, it's Glenn that dies. It's Glenn that gets killed by Negan in the comics.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen in the show, because in the comics, it was Abraham that got the arrow through the eye from Dwayne's crossbow. Whereas in the show, it was Denise. So, they changed things up quite a bit. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully I didn't piss people off by spoiling the comics, but
that look that Abraham gave Negan when he looked at him in the lineup too was like, go ahead, make my day. In that final thing, he's like, I can take it. Go ahead. So, I mean, it might be a good choice in that one.
Well, and the other thing is too that if you follow the show, I don't know if Paul and Ben are fans of this show. If they're not, they're probably miserable right now. But, if you follow the show, you know that every single time they started like buttering up a character and talking more about the character's backstory and really involving a character a lot, that pretty much meant they were on their way out. If you look back, that's how it happened with every major death that's happened on the show. And if you look at those last couple of episodes, it was all up Abraham's ass. I mean, it was all about Abraham with him and Rosita and him and Sasha. And so, God, we sound like a couple of soap opera nerds, but they were really pumping him up those last couple of episodes. I'll tell you, the only thing that freaks me out a little bit is the fact that Negan, when he was swinging Lucille, said, taking it like a man. I can't see him saying that to a man. That'd be weird to say that to a man that is a big burly man like Abraham. So that's the only thing that freaks me out. Because if you remember that last scene, when he's hitting, he says, taking it like a man. Why would he say that to Abraham? But I don't know. There's no way it's Maggie.
We'll find out in 2 weeks, right?
There's no way it's Maggie. There's no way it's Michonne. They're not going to kill a pregnant woman. And they're not going to kill Michonne, who's one of the more popular characters on the show. Sasha is expendable, sure. And who else is there? What other female is there? Carol's not there.
Carol's not there. Rosita.
Not there.
Rosita.
So, yeah, Rosita. It could be Rosita. Absolutely. If it's a female, it's going to be Rosita or it's going to be Sasha. They're the only two that nobody really cares about. Not me, not Maggie, and not Michonne. Paul, Ben, you have any clue what we're talking about? You haven't chimed in at all. Do you watch the show?
I was a fan.
What'd you say, Paul?
I just said giant question mark.
Okay. Well,
I watched some of the first few seasons, And I thought they did kill him. Did they kill the sheriff's wife when she was pregnant? In the pen, like in a.
You know what? You're right. Yes, you're absolutely right. But
they delivered the baby, but she got it.
Yeah,
No.
you're right. You know
She
what?
died during childbirth, and Carl put her down.
Oh, okay. So she wouldn't become a zombie.
Correct.
That's it. You're right. She died.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I saw the first few seasons, and then I went off my schedule.
Well, you guys are missing out. You got to catch up because it's getting really, really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a jerk because if they watch it now, it's going to be all totally spoiled for them. Somebody just put in all caps because they think they're smart. Stop talking about this TV show. Well, we're talking about it because the show's over. I mean, we were talking an hour and a half about hybrids. We had fun. We're talking about whatever we want to talk about now. But anyway, you know, I don't mean to be a jerk about that. This has been a lot of fun. I've taken up enough of you guys' time already. John, I need your website to order. KGTropicals.com. That's very, very simple. Go ahead. It's all right there waiting for you. Going to be adding something big next week, but still have to iron out the details. But something big happening next week that I know people are going to lose their minds over in a good way. So really excited about that. Thank you, Paul Martin, for that. Y'all know Paul Martin because of the Facebook group. That dude is – I don't know why I deserve that guy. I mean, he just does so much for me. It's ridiculous. Never asked for a thing. He's an amazing, amazing human being. So thank you so much to him. And what I normally do is I usually let my guests close the show, but I usually only have one. So that's hard to do because I have three. So let me see. Let's go hierarchy as far as subscribers go. Why don't we do that? Largo, you're up there. What, you're like 5,000-6,000 now, aren't you?
No. I'm ahead of Paul by a few. I'm not sure about Ben.
I think it goes Ben, Paul, Largo, I think. But let's do that. Let's have Largo, you go first, and then Paul, and then Ben can close the show for us. You guys say whatever you want. You want to talk about Luke Cage, you want to talk about Walking Dead, talk about whatever you want. I'm going to say my part now. Thank you all so much for watching this. I had fun tonight. It was very unorganized, but that's the fun in an episode like this or a show like this, bringing a bunch of people together. I enjoyed the heck out of this. I think I'm going to want to do this again because it's fun having a lot of people around. So thank you to everyone who has watched, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. I got a video coming out tomorrow and another one Sunday. Tomorrow is going to be a saltwater update video, and then Sunday, I don't have one for Sunday yet, but there will be one. So there you go. And if you're not a member of the Tank Talk group yet on Facebook, join it. Ben is a mod on there. He'll welcome you, and you'll see him in there quite a bit. So that's all I'm going to say for the night. Largo, it's your turn, and then we'll go straight to Mr. Inventory King and straight to Ben. And once Ben closes it out, you three don't go anywhere. I'll stop the broadcast, and then we can talk and say a lot of four-letter words after we're not live anymore.
All right, first I want to say thanks, John, for having myself and all these cool guys on with us. It was definitely a blast. I had a lot of fun. If you guys don't go check out KGTropicals.com, you should. He's got a lot of cool stuff on there. Adding more every day. My website, the cichlid.com, you can go check out that for fish. If you need it and if you're in the market, check out my channel as well as Paul's and Ben's and John's. Lots of informative and good information and just a blast just to watch videos on YouTube. Again, John, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I want to also thank you, John. Appreciate you reaching out. This was fun besides the computer issues. Yeah, go, everyone go hit up these channels. Great guys, great content. Also, you can go to John's website and pick up one of these shirts. He'll get it out to you real fast. As far as YouTube, I know I got my last part of my interview with Largo coming out and a fish room tour. So if those of you who are interested, check it out. And I like to close my videos with, stay tanked.
All right.
I was about to say, your turn, Ben.
My turn. Okay. Hey, John, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you to everyone else on. You guys are great. I mean, what's helped me a lot is people like the three of you that really just do it for the love of the hobby. You know, just get information out there. I want to thank you guys and anyone else who's listening who provides information on the Tank Talk, you know, Facebook page, and also your KG Tropical videos are awesome. So thanks a lot for that. And, you know, I'm going to put something out there, John, that, you know, we're kind of jealous in the cichlid area here because we see it shifting a little bit over to salt. And I think you're going to have to issue a statement at some point that that you're not going to forget about us.
Well, no, let me go ahead and address that, even though I said I wasn't going to talk anymore. I am not changing a thing about my channel. I'm adding to my channel. I'm going to be producing specific saltwater content, but everything else is going to stay the same. So my cichlid, these three tanks are going to stay exactly like they are, except they're just going to get better. But I'm just adding salt to it. So no, I'm not deviating away from freshwater, not one bit. Don't worry about that.
Okay, good. I think that's a question that probably was on a few folks' minds. So certainly was on mine. All right, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.